Hi, this is Sienna Gang. Today is the day we make the simplest but authentic kimchi in Canada. First, remove the outermost layer of napa cabbage. We can use it to make soup or chon. Cabbages here are smaller than the ones you find in Korea. Cut the cabbage on third way down from the bottom with a knife. Then split it in half with your hands. Cutting it all the way with a knife creates wasted leaves. Now let's remove the dirty parts of the bottom of the cabbage. Make small cuts. It will allow the thick stems to be well salted, which will lead to good taste and texture. Prepare coarse salt, thick plastic bag, and a big basin. The amount of water doesn't matter as long as you have enough, and you keep the water-salt ratio 10:1. I used 2 liters of water with 200 milliliters of salt initially to soak the cabbage. Just dissolve salt in the water. Place the cut cabbages in the brine and allow the brine to get in between the leaves. Brining process is known to be the most important part of making a great kimchi. There are many ways to brine cabbage, but this is how I do it. When placing the cabbage, play the cut side up. When you're done putting all the cabbages, use a handful of coarse salt to massage the cabbage with it. It is important for you to put the salt in between the bottom of the leaves. It is normally thicker and requires more salt than the leaves. Pour the leftover brine. I added another 2 liters of salt water to submerge as much as possible under the brine. Now tie up the plastic bag well. We are going to flip the cabbage around in 6 hours and leave it for another 12 hours. I suggest you start kimchi when you have a good 24 hours of free time. Let's make the kimchi sauce now. Add 2 tablespoons of sticky rice powder in 350 milliliters of water. If you have a beef broth or seafood broth, you can boil the sticky rice powder in it instead. I add 2 spoons of Korean broth powder. It increases the umami of the kimchi when you do it. When everything seems to be dissolved well, I'll be heating it up. You need to continuously stir and pay attention to it because it can easily boil over. You need to take it off heat before it boils because sticky rice water burns easily. Let it cool down to room temperature, then it will have a pudding-like texture. Now I'm going to prepare all the ingredients that I have to blend. Prepare 20 cloves of garlic. It'll taste better with more garlic, so trust me and add them. Cut up an apple and remove the seeds. Add 1/2 of radish. Radish is a crucial ingredient. It removes the unpleasant aftertaste and adds freshness to the kimchi. Half a cup of salted shrimp. You can substitute with salt if you can't eat salted shrimp. 1 full cup of pear juice. I'll be adding 2 cups in total. You can always add them later, but I added 1 now just to make it easier to blend. Now we are pretty much done. I add 3 cups of normal chili powder and 1 cup of spicy chili powder. If you don't have any spicy chili powder, you can just add 4 cups of normal ones with 10 to 15 Vietnamese chili peppers. You can alter the ratio depending on your spice tolerance. Add 1.5 cup of anchovy sauce. You can also add 2 cups of fish sauce. If you can, you should try to get all the ingredients in a Korean grocery store. Now blend it all up. Give it a taste and add whatever you may think is needed. It should be salty and somewhat spicy. I added another cup of pear juice to sweeten the sauce. You can add a bit of sugar if you need more sweetness to your kimchi. And finally, add the cooled rice water. I always make a big batch of sauce. It can be stored in the fridge up to 5 months. I make fresh kimchi quite often. If you don't, you can store them in the freezer. Now, until the cabbage gets well salted, I'll let the sauce sit where there is no direct sunlight. I flipped over the cabbage after 6 hours. This is well salted cabbage. Now we're going to wash the cabbage with clean water. Wash it as well as possible and repeat it 3 times. There isn't much wasted cabbage because we didn't use the knife to cut it. The second most important part of kimchi is draining water out of salted cabbage. You must remove as much water as possible from the cabbage, at least for 4 hours. I usually let it sit on a sieve overnight and apply the sauce in the next morning. I have cut the cabbage into half again to store it separately in smaller packages. When incorporating the sauce, I'll be doing it from the bottom up. It needs to be applied leaf by leaf because you'll be able to taste if it's not well coated. It's tedious but very important. It also influences the fermentation rate, so if you want consistently good kimchi through the whole cabbage, you have to apply it well. Beginners make a common mistake of not applying it on every layer, resulting in white kimchi. A good tip would be to push in a bunch of sauce into the core of the cabbage and apply it up to the leaves. The core of the cabbage is thicker, so it requires more sauce to have the same flavor. When you're done applying the sauce to the cabbage, wrap the longest outer layer leaf and wrap the whole kimchi. It wouldn't be too easy, but this is how you properly pack a kimchi. In Korea, we store them in a kimchi fridge, but we don't have that here in Canada, so in order to slow down the fermentation process, I'll be packing them in a plastic bag. I've figured out if you keep them in an ice cooler, it stores the kimchi better. Second part of storing kimchi is reducing temperature fluctuation, and the ice cooler does that. I recommend you buy a small ice cooler and try storing your kimchi in it. After storing them in the fridge for a month, you should try making kimchi jjigae with it. You should compare it with store-bought kimchi jjigae. Any food that has kimchi in it will taste much better with homemade kimchi. You'll know that this whole process is worth it when you try it. There are hundreds of different kimchis, but this is the most basic cabbage kimchi. As we all know, kimchi is very healthy and it is also very delicious. Please give it a try this weekend.